is another rendition. This is another rendition. This is another rendition. This is another rendition. This is another rendition of Inside the Mind. You know, we live weekly with that. Right? Right?
Yeah. I hope for days to see my uncle. I hope for time to spend with. We tired of getting harassed, incarcerated, and beat. It's stories like Robert Wagner's happening every week. The injustice didn't end with Rodney King serving protector, hurt and neglect. What's the role of police? I want to show you what the dash cam won't. That's innocent people getting jabbed, slammed and choked. Just like the 1960s, only 50 years.
Amir Locke. Say his name. Amir Locke. Say his name.
Amir was on his way out here, living out here. His mom and his older brother actually stay out here. They moving voucher was supposed to have been February the 18th, I believe. And he was killed
2022, right?
2022, and he was killed on February 2nd, 2022. And
rest in peace to that young brother for sure.
when you look at his birthday being November 11th of 99, when you look at him being 22 years old, when you look at the date of it happening on February 2nd of 2022, when you just look at like the higher level mathematics of everything, it's like this stuff is so beyond our family.
Do you believe in destiny?
Yo, welcome back to Inside the Mind. My name is Dante Anthony, and this is another rendition of Inside the Mind. And today with us, I don't even know where to start. I can start a lot of places, but I know where to start. I'm going to start here. The gentleman that we have sitting with us today, here on my right, on my left, is very inspirational. And he's been that way for a long time. Me coming up as a young pup in school and shit, I really looked up to bro. Little do he know it. Little does he know, he's been a mentor way long before he actually got into mentoring other, you know what I mean, professionally, you know what I mean? I really looked up to this gentleman. I loved how he carried himself. I love the wisdom that he had at such a young age, knowing how to move, knowing when to move, knowing when not to move. You know what I mean? He just always had that insight. A very enlightened, just human being overall. I'm gonna set it right there. Today with us, y'all, we got Jonny Knogood, Knogood. Give him a round of applause real quick.
Man, thank you, man. Thank
Appreciate
you for
coming through, bro. Like for real.
Man, appreciate you for having me, man. Thank you.
What you been up to lately, though, bro? These past couple of years, we just don't, you know what I mean, off the rip, just see what you've been up to recently.
Man, that's a loaded question, man. I just been growing, bro. Just been on a journey of self-discovery, learning how to love myself and working on opening up my heart space, bro. So
I love that.
That's where I've been at, bro.
Growth, and that's what we gonna call this episode growth. Growth with Jonny Knogood. Real quick. With that being said, let's give our sponsor some love real quick. Shout out to G&G Smoke Shop, located right here in Omaha, Nebraska, for all of your custom glass needs in 80 different colors and varieties. Stop in there. They'll make sure they get you right. They have some of the dopest artwork imaginable. Like the way these dudes curate and blow their glass is beautiful. Not only do they have the best selection of glass in Omaha's only full-service glass studio. Again, if y'all don't know what that means they blow their own glass and stuff. They don't just order imports. You know, it's all custom made. They also have one of Omaha's largest selection of THC, THCH, THC10, HHC, HACO, hemp, flower, botanical nootropics, everything you need. Make sure y'all stop the G&G Smoke Shop. Let them know we live weekly sent you. Appreciate that. Back to my man Jonny Knogood. Uh, you started off, I would say, your creative life as a musician, correct? What inspired you to get into music?
Man, shout out to my older bro and my cousins, man. They did music. My big bro Drewski and my cousin Sherman, man, boss man.
Shout out to Sherman, man. Sherman Wells, man.
Yeah,
That's big on for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. So yeah, cousin them, they was doing music. And him, my cousin Raynell, my cousin Tinka, they all used to do music. So Untamed, before there was Untamed, there was NRP, which was Nigga Rig Productions. But back before that, my brother, them, they had this, they used to have like the little tape recorder, a tape cassette, and they recorded themselves doing this song, and it was smoke. All I do is smoke, 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 smoke. And I just remember my brother verse, how he started every day. I gotta get high every day to just maintain the same old same thing. So
You
like
still
just
remember that joint right now?
remember how he started off the flow. And so like I always grew up around music, always grew up around the love of music. And my mom was a gangster, bro. So we wasn't listening to no PG stuff. We
Right.
was listening to Top Authority, we was listening to Pac, and we was listening to some old school at the same time. So
Hey, that's how my life was.
yeah,
Listen to all that R&B like that.
yeah.
But no, man, that's love. So at what age would you say though that you actually started to pen
I
and
was
create?
I was 7 years old.
7.
I was 7. I still
Okay.
remember my first rap.
What's that? Can you share that with us?
Yeah, yeah.
Just a little
So
bar.
it was it was that song that came Monday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday,
Hey,
Saturday,
yeah,
Sunday.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that song had came out, and so like my first rap was, I had found out we was gonna die. And so like when I first found out that we had to die, like that devastated me. My mom had to call my grandpa
You
in and
mean
talk
just
to me.
wait? You mean in general?
Like the concept of death, like before
Okay,
I could
okay.
understand that there's no such thing as death. But in a young mind, when you find out that you have to transcend this physical form, it was kind of traumatic. So I wrote my first pen, and it was Monday through Sunday. One day I'm gonna have to die, but don't cry. Keep your head up and hold your head up and keep my memory alive. So it was like literally when I found out that we had to die, I had made a conscious choice that I was gonna make my death mean something. That was at 7 years old.
At 7 years old. Damn. Why you think at that age that you had that word?
Honestly, I don't know, bro. I think that it's one of those things where we're all put here to manifest and walk into our greatness, into our purpose. And sometimes we got a divine calling on our life that we can't see, that we don't know. And a lot of times the people who have been through the most troubled past or had some of the harshest upbringings, all of that adversity build a characteristic into you where you able to persevere through some of the hardest times. And I think that just if you find meaning in the suffering, it allows for you to get joy out of the most simplest things. I say that to say earlier I was leaving Creighton because I'm an adjunct professor, and we had our orientation. And as I was leaving, the training got out early. I stopped and took a picture of a butterfly because it was so beautiful. It's like we don't be enough in the moment to be able to realize the beautiful things. So I think it's just in that suffering and finding the meaning. You find the meaning of life. And that's what you got right now.
No, I got you, bro. That's real deep, and that's why this is called Inside the Mind. And I appreciate you sharing that and dropping some jewels on us and our audience. Um, so in the in the bigger scheme of things,
Mm-hmm.
you took the leap from, I want to say you took the leap from hip hop activism
Mm-hmm. Mm.
to community outreach.
Mm. Mm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to change some lives for real.
Mm-hmm.
What inspired you? What inspired that community involvement and wanting to, see the next generation do better?
Listen, it was just in wanting to be active in the change. I think that one of the first things that really shifted my life was I remember back when Trayvon Martin had passed away,
Yes, sir.
and there was a rally going on downtown, And there was an individual who I had met that day at that rally who was organizing. And when I got to hear those brothers speak for the first time, there was things that I was contemplating on that I had wrote in like my college papers and stuff like that I was penning that he was breaking down. And I'm just like, this is what it looks like to lead and organize on a very, very high level. So shout out to a brother named Leo Lewis, a very profound brother, you know, like just seeing his involvement in the community and seeing the different ways in which he was able to organize. I think that was very inspirational. Seeing it close hand. Um, of course, when you find out about people like Malcolm and stuff like that, like those are the type of figures that just it light a fire in you. It's like, and for me to know that Malcolm was born here in Omaha, and to know that my aunt is the one who actually bought and purchased the land and started the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation. It's just like when you look at your lineage, your story, your narrative, your bloodline, it's like I come from greatness. I ain't got no choice but to be great.
Yes, sir. Facts. Preach. Preaching. Um, and we appreciate it, bro. And all of the youth out there that you're involved with, I'm pretty sure that they
Man,
appreciate it. But what's even the best part is when they get older
mm,
and you realize, or they realize, that they appreciate you.
mm,
You know what I mean? For
mm,
what you've done. Even like I
mm.
said, myself,
Yes,
you know
sir.
what I mean? Not
Yes,
even
sir.
being that far in age from each other, but you know
Yes,
what I mean?
sir.
Getting to that age to where I can be like, I appreciate that brother
Man, yeah,
for,
it's
you know
beautiful,
what I mean,
man.
showing me what he showed me. And yeah, it's a very beautiful thing. Um, and to segue off of that, not segue off of that, we don't segue into something else that's a little more deeper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it might be a little dark,
Mm,
right?
mm-hmm.
I want to speak on real quick one of your people, the Amir Locke situation.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, can you explain to us in the audience who Amir Locke is and what took place? Uh,
Man,
you know what I mean with the whole
who he
situation.
was is something that we was still yet to see.
Yes, sir.
He was 22 years old. And so he was just coming into his greatness and walking into his greatness. He was a little cousin of mine that I didn't know him that well. They was born and raised out in the Twin Cities. And the last time I seen Amir was when his grandmother passed away back in 2014, I believe. So they was about 14 years old. But Amir was on his way out here, living out here. His mom and his older brother actually stay out here. They moving voucher was supposed to have been February the 18th, I believe, and he
Of
was killed
2022,
of
right?
2022, and he was killed on February 2nd, 2022. And
And rest in peace to that young brother for sure.
when you look at like when you look at like his birthday being November 11th of 99, when you look at him being 22 years old, when you look at the date of it happening on February 2nd of 2022, when you just look at like the higher level mathematics of
Yes, sir.
everything, it's like this stuff is so beyond our family, you know, and it's like the magnetism of what's happening to us as a people. It's like in these moments, in these situations, what do we do? And for me, the best way of honoring life is to continue to give life. And that's what my little cousin was about. Like he was had plans on being out here. My cousin Sherman, he does the Untamed summer camp. He got a 20-week program that he do down at the Bryan Center. And my cousin had plans on being actively involved in that. He was studying, taking his project management certifications, the same certifications and stuff that I'm doing. And it's like he was looking forward to being an asset to his community. And it's like the thing that hurts the most is that, and Will Smith is an example of this, you can spend your life trying to do the right thing, and one moment or one narrative shift can change everything. And here he was, a legally carrying gun owner, firearm owner, you know, at a residence in which he was sleeping on, and here's somebody come into the house, you know, like unannounced, startling, kicking the. It's like we always have to justify our humanity and justify the fact that we're not criminals. When I seen what happened with that Buffalo shooter and how this individual was able to get taken out alive, when I seen what happened down there in Texas, in which the officers ran away from the person shooting, you run away from armed people, but you run up on unarmed people and kill them within 9 seconds. Like you put your knee on the back of unarmed black men, who, what I'm saying, for petty things. You put your knee on the back of a black man's neck for 8 minutes and 48 seconds, 47 seconds. I don't even want to disrespect the time, but it's like, so in seeing these things, we have to make sure that our lives mean something. And one thing that I want to do is make sure that my cousin don't pass in vain. I don't want his death to be in vain. So I thank you for asking that.
That's why I wanted to bring it up so we can shine a little more light on it. I know we, don't have much, but the more noise we can make, we gonna make some fucking noise. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Straight up.
For sure.
So staying on this subject and on this heart, and this cup right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
No justice, no peace. Release No Justice, No Peace. I don't even want to talk about the release date, but you released No Justice, No Peace around Trayvon Martin time. And now we got the Mirlock situation, your family, and everything in between. From that song's inception to where we are now in this state of our society, how much more do you feel that song speaks volumes?
Man, it speaks a lot of volumes. I think that especially when some of the subject matter that we was talking about, especially my brother Lipo, when he talked about they got the nerve to take their lives from me, but we pay them with our tax money. It's like the cleverness of the creativity and breaking down the fact that most of us don't know that these are people who are supposed to be civil servants who have an obligation to us. So it's like those type of things is like, is profound. And so like when I first created that song, I had actually went to school with the young man who was a victim in that situation in which the police had jumped on him. His name was Demetrius. And like I went to first and second grade with Demetrius. I don't even know if he would remember me if I seen him. But when I seen that happen to him, like it enraged me. But it's like, what can we do? And so there was a beat, there was a different beat that I had came across, and the whole concept that I was hearing in my mind was just no justice, no peace. It's like there's no justice, it's just us. So I'm like, oh, okay, no justice, just us. How can I create an art form to make sure that, like we spreading this message? And so like when I look at the state of affairs to that, to when I did something like Lucrative Business talking about Mike Brown, is I think that as a people, we have to be cognizant of what time periods we in. And I like to study history. And Mark Twain once said that if history don't repeat itself, it sure enough rhymes. And there's just a lot of plays that are being repeated that have been shown in history. And so like if we're cognizant of what time it is, if we're mindful of what time it is, then we understand the unique and peculiar position that we are in as Black people.
To change it.
And you can't change that.
Yeah, right. Thank you for sharing that, bro. You know what I mean? How you feel about that? I mean, the state of affairs we're in right now in this society. With that being said, I'm gonna take a quick break real quick. We're gonna play a clip for y'all from No Justice, No Peace by my man Jonny Knogood, Future and Lipo. We'll be right back. Sweet Live Weekly.
With Rodney King serving protector, hurt and neglect. What's the role of police? I want to show you what the dash cam won't. That's innocent people getting jabbed, slammed and choked. Just like the 1960s, only 50 years later. 4 different police chiefs and things ain't changing what's made of. I guess because the president's Black, I'm supposed to forget the struggle like I've never been Black. Like if it wasn't for Reagan, we never...
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Jazzy. You are watching Inside the Mind on We Live Weekly. Check it out.
Yeah, we on We Live Weekly with that. Right? Right? Yo, welcome back to We Live Weekly. This is Inside the Mind. We sitting here with my man Jonny Knogood once again. Before we took that break, of course, we was talking about no justice, no peace, your community involvement, your artistry. I want to kind of stay in the community involvement a little bit because you do a lot for the community, so I want to shine some light on that. Not only do you do a lot for the community as a whole, but you do a lot for the community for yourself. You know what I mean? To try to do more for the community. So with these, I say that because you have been seeing you recently popping up on a lot of MCing gigs. You know what I mean? Which is dope because again, he used to be a former hip hop artist. So it's dope to see you take that challenge there to still stay on the stage. You know what I mean? To voice your opinion. What made you get into MCing gigs that way?
Man, it's kind of one of those things. There's a necessity thing. It's a wise man once told me that it's easier to light a light than it is to curse the darkness. So it's just easier to be proactive in the things that we see wrong as opposed to complaining about problems. And so if I see a problem, then I'm going to create a couple solutions in which I think might be able to address those problems. And one problem that we have here in Omaha is the lack of avenues for creators to express themselves. And I was given a platform by a couple of my mentors in this spoken word stuff, this poetry game, Miss Felicia Webster, Felicia Casher, Casher now. She didn't change her last name, but Miss With Love Felicia and Miss Michelle Troxclair. And my mentor Michelle, she's the reason why I got into teaching poetry and stuff like that. She put me on with Nebraska Writers Collective, and she had moved to Africa, and she came back, but she had moved to Africa. Felicia was out of town, and they had a open mic series called the Verbal Gumbo. And Verbal Gumbo, if people never had a chance to go and visit it, it was just something spectacular. And like from 2013 to 2015, it was just like one of my releases, and I tested the majority of my material from Zik Tape 2 at the Verbal Gumbo. And when they left, it was just such a big void. And when they left, there was a young brother did an open mic poetry event last July, and it went pretty well. And another brother of mine talked about the need to keep that space going. And so we wanted to do it last year, weather wasn't permitting. And so we just able to start manifesting on a little bit more of the things that we wanted to do last year. And one of them is creating spaces that amplify Black and brown voices, but also make sure that those voices are being compensated for their talents, their skills, their creativity. That's the main thing that I want.
For sure. Man, dope as hell. Yeah. And like I said, I've been seeing you all over the place, whether it's y'all was at the sneaker soiree the other weekend, with Culture House, you know what I mean? Shout out to Marcy House and Marcy Yates and everybody over at Culture House. Coming up, you got the Juneteenth Joy Fest.
Yeah, shout out.
Shout out to everybody. It's gonna be, make sure y'all pull up too to the Juneteenth, all the festivities. It's a lot going on this June for us, for us Black and brown people, for sure. Another thing I want to touch on is your I don't mean to giggle, but your gardening, bro.
Okay.
Because you really got into gardening over the last couple of years and shit, and I think it's dope to be self-reliant, bro.
Yes, sir.
I go fishing every week.
Okay.
I don't hunt yet, but I plan on, you know what I mean, learning how to, just in case anything happens. And gardening, I already knew how to garden, you know what I mean? So to watch you do it though, and to be so committed to it, and really being committed to watching your fruits grow,
yes, sir.
Or your vegetables or whatever, you know what I mean? You can really tell it's a labor of love.
Yes, sir.
And you're really passionate about it.
Yes, sir.
Why you got into gardening, bro? Like, how that come about?
Well, I've been interested in gardening since 2015, and it was one of those things I kept saying I want to do, But sometimes if we say we want to do them, how real are we in them?
Right.
And the universe got a way of kind of like testing these things that we say that we want to do. And so, yeah, the universe, when everything happened in 2020 and everybody came in, I had got a phone call about coming to meet at the garden, and it just presented me an opportunity to do something that I've wanted to do the last 5 years. And in the midst of that, last summer I met a sister who changed the trajectory of everything I had going on, and her name is Leia. And she said some of the most profound stuff to me. She said that you can't have a revolution on an empty stomach. And so,
Hey, hey, I feel like, hey, shout out to Leia.
and
Think
so,
about it.
yeah, so that queen, that shifted everything for me. I said, you can't have no revolution on no empty
So what
stomach.
we gonna
So,
do?
so I got very heavy in increasing my knowledge in gardening, and I'm looking forward to increasing my knowledge in preservation and those other aspects. But yeah, man, it's just something that I wanted to get into, but then I started finding the healing properties and the therapeutic properties in gardening. And so that's where a lot of my events through Black Folks Who Garden is going to be focused on creating the elements of art, education, and urban ag, and how can we reclaim this space that's been traumatic, historically traumatic for us, and use it as a place that brings us peace. So
So,
yeah,
no, I think it, man. Again, I'll be tuned into it.
yeah,
If y'all can check it out right here behind us on the graphics,
yeah.
y'all can see him in the garden, some of his gardening visuals and some of his vegetables. I think that was like a jalapeno on one of them joints right there.
Okay.
And then the little gnome that was in the dirt outside. I was like, hey man, that's creative. I just love little minute, just little, tiny little creative things like that to make somebody interested. You know what I mean? So that definitely caught my eye. I was like, yo, that's pretty dope. And then actually watch everything growing too. That's freaking awesome. Another thing I want to talk about real quick before we get up out of here is Yes, Black Man Read.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I don't want to speak on it. I'm gonna let you speak on it.
Okay.
So the people can fully understand, you know what I mean?
Man.
What Yes Black Man Read is.
Man, everything starts with conversations for me. So I had a conversation where a very wise elder who told me two very wise things. He said that if you want to hide something of value, put it into a book. If you want to hide something of value from a Black man, put it into a book. And that in his own self was very, very profound to me. I'm like, man, especially as Black people, like, there's this false narrative that we're not educated or we can't educate ourselves. And so him saying that to me made me realize that, there's a hidden world that's in these books. And we gotta expose our children to this stuff. Because like every time an elder passed away, they said if a person is a book, each person is a book. Every time an elder passed away, that's a whole library that goes with them. And so it's like, how can we get people to the tools, empower them the tools to tell their own story, right? Because if history is his story, what's your story? What's her story? And so like, it's through understanding the power of our own narratives that we can start to empower the youth to create the stories and tell the stories that's going to perpetuate and push the culture forward. And so with Yes Black Men Read, that was one way that I could do that, is looking at books. And why books? Because reading is a very important thing, especially people who study the data. Third grade is a very pivotal point for Black people, for people, period, especially as readers, because in third grade, we make the shift from learning how to read to reading to learn. And so by the end of your third grade, whatever your reading level is, that's a very high indicator of what your ninth grade reading levels is, which is an indicator of your ACT, SAT scores, and your college probability aspect. So if we're able to focus in at that pivotal point in time, right at the third grade, the fourth grade, and increase our students' comprehension, then we can combat a lot of these things and be more proactive. So through increasing graphemic awareness, phonemic awareness, and just creating these things, man, I'm looking at addressing some of these issues. I'm in the schools. Uh, our numbers is not up there, and it's because of a lack of culturally responsive or relevant material. So
Yeah.
like through making sure that books are culturally responsive and relevant, and making sure that students are seeing themselves in the books that they're reading and in the information that they're reading, hopefully we can increase interest in it. But it's in getting us to see that poetry and all of these other different things are creative forms of writing, which is all things that can help our students tell their story. So with Black Men, yes, Black Men Read, we trying to look at increasing education, but we trying to make sure that we also out here tackling some of the issues and making sure that our students are given the tools to tell their story.
Y'all heard that, right? Y'all heard that, right? This black man sitting next to me is focused, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
on helping create a brighter and a better future for our younger people, man, our youth up out here. And that's only to be commendable.
Mm.
Y'all watching this and y'all don't got no respect for this gentleman sitting next to me right here. I don't
Mm.
know what y'all on, man.
Mm.
Y'all some weirdos, bro, for real.
Mm.
Um, real quick, I have one more thing.
Okay.
Because of course, not only is you doing all this community involvement, MCing, um, the gardening, everything that you got going on. You have a lot going on right now, bro. You also have the streets the streets A&R podcast
Mm.
that you work on with my man Eric Ijiki.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you say it? Right?
Oh yeah, Jiki. Yes, sir.
All right, yeah. I ain't never said it, so I'll make sure I said it right. All right,
Get the Jiki with you.
get jiggy with it.
Yeah.
So man, how did that come about? For one, and then what do y'all look to? You know, what I mean, what's the aim behind that one?
Man, it's it's literally my man E is a genius, man. So for correction, I work on the Streets A&R podcast with
Okay,
E. You
gotcha.
know what I'm saying? Like this was my man's E's baby, and E is a person who is always using his platform to elevate and amplify people and artists that other people may or may not know. Um, I say that to say, like, most of the artists that I didn't been introduced to or then been broke to me has come from either E or then came from females, because the women be,
Yeah,
man,
listen to
the
this. You
women,
gotta hear
you know what I'm
this. Or
saying,
just hop in
gotta
the car.
correct
They
myself, women, but the women be
want
out
to
here,
change the
they like
song.
some of the best DJs, like they be listening to the vibes
I
and to
tell
the
my lady
cuts.
all the time, you can have the aux cord. Play
Yep,
something. Put
yep,
your Bluetooth on. I'm
yep,
tired of hearing my music.
yep.
Shit.
So he was doing series. He was doing a series back in 2020, in which he was calling it the Streets A&R. And so I don't want to short it. I want to say for 30 weeks straight, 34 weeks straight, he put up music and didn't repeat artists or songs. And so he was just breaking all kind of different artists, except for when he did the sneaker soiree and he had bought Mickey Fax here.
Okay.
So last year he bought Mickey Fax here, and so through doing that, he had mentioned a desire to want to start a podcast. And like for me, I was on Clubhouse, and there's this brother named Simon Okello. I think his Instagram is Okello Javon or Javon Okello. Very, very powerful brother out there in Seattle, Washington, who got a lot of phenomenal things that he got going on. And he was one of the first people to put into the mind of my idea of doing a podcast. So he had like consulted with me, gave me all of this different advice on how to start it. And so when E came about the idea of doing a podcast, I'm like, okay, let's see. I was a little iffy because it's still, it's weird being in front of the camera. It's weird being like vulnerable and accessible in certain areas when it comes to like the camera.
Right.
And so he wanted to make sure he had a platform in which he was highlighting young artists who are making great music that's not getting the spotlight and rotation that mainstream artists are getting. A lot of times we think like music is done, artistry is done. And so what E wanted to do with Streets A&R podcast, and what we do in that Streets A&R podcast, is making sure that we're bringing light to the elements of the streets and what music entails, the A&R, and whether that's booking shows, whether that's marketing, just the different elements of hip hop, DJing, breaking, whatever that is, so that we're perpetuating and pushing the culture forward. And so my man E is a hip hop connoisseur. He's a musician head.
Records he got.
Man. And so he always looking for the next artist. So we want to create a platform in which we're not only talking about these artists, but we're actually bringing these artists here, curating events, bringing them on the podcast, and starting like a media run for these artists, man. So we got some phenomenal things we got working on, and my brother E is a marketing genius, for real.
So, man, yeah, I wanted to just again shine some spotlight on that too, because I see y'all working. I've been, like I said, I've been paying attention to it, and checking it out, especially with the podcast we have. So I like to know what other people are doing as well. You know what I mean? So I know what where the mark is at. You know what I mean? But again, bro, I'm super proud of your evolution, your growth, coming from where we came from, knowing you for all these years. You know what I mean? So it's a beautiful thing, and I'm one that's big on growth as well. From where I used to be to where I am now, my mindset is completely different. I'm, you know what I mean? Just same way, just on some chill. I'm just enjoying life, appreciating life. You know what I mean? I love going for walks. I love going to the park and chilling with the kid. Whatever it is, giving my daughter a kiss at night, you know what I mean, in the bed, because I know she about to go to sleep and I ain't going to get that many more days. You feel me? So, like you said, the evolution and the growth, the journey you've been on over this past decade, for sure. It's been a beautiful thing to watch, and I wanted to bring you on here to give you some flowers.
Thank you.
Real quick, you know what I mean? To let you know that I appreciate you. We appreciate you. A lot of people appreciate you, and proud of the man that you have become, bro. So thank you for coming on, my G. Like, for real. Anytime you want to come through, want to come on, promote, you know what I mean? Chop, we gonna too. But let the people know where they can reach you at, reach on your platforms and everything. Real quick.
Yeah, man. You know, you can always Google me Expedia. But yeah, you know, I used to have an information panel. You can still Google me though, Jonny Knogood, JonnyKnogood. Find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and all of those names. I'm active on Instagram. I got a TikTok that I downloaded. I haven't created one yet. Social media is just a vulnerable thing for me, man. So if you follow me on social media, Jonny Knogood, find the page, Yes Black Man Read. Find Black Folks Who Garden. Yes Black Man Read. We about to be more active. I just got my phone, so we about to be doing the content creation. Black Folks Who Garden, man, we out here just giving the spotlight to some of the Black people who out here doing that work. So, you know, at that Gnome, we was at the Hill and Roots Garden. Shout out to the Hill and Roots Garden. And you said you like to be outside, man. You know, we got some opportunities for volunteers coming up at the Shabazz Garden too. So we got some big work that's gonna be coming with that. So, you know, if y'all interested in helping, you enthusiastic about learning something, you just want to get your hands dirty, you want to help, you know, build the community and push it forward, contact me, Jonny Knogood, on Instagram. My email is jknogood, that's JKNOGOOD@gmail.com. Fuck with me, man.
Y'all heard that, right?
Yeah.
Make sure y'all tap in with my man Jonny Knogood, Streets A&R Podcast, Black Folks Who Garden, at Yes Black Man Read.
Yes, sir.
For sure. Tap in on all the platforms, like, follow, subscribe. It's We Live Weekly. I'm Jonny Knogood. We out.
Peace.
Appreciate it.
Living the life that's on the screen. It ain't a scheme, it ain't a dream. It's real as it seems.
When everybody came in, I came out.
When you met me, you wouldn't let me get your phone number. Told me your name was none, you ain't
So
gave
now I'm
me
trying
the
to think.
phone number.
Yeah, I don't know. Music, I started teaching poetry.
And we on We Live Weekly with that. Right?